Born an orphan in the slums of Calcutta, climbed every rung of the global business establishment. By his mid-40s, he was running one of the most powerful consulting firms in the world. He sat on the board of Goldman Sachs. He partnered on philanthropy with Bill Gates. He was reportedly worth $100 million. And then, 16 seconds after learning a single piece of confidential information, he picked up the phone, made one call, and threw it all away. His name was Rajat Gupta. Morgan Housel introduces Rajat Gupta in Chapter 3 of The Psychology of Money, a chapter titled Never Enough. As Housel writes, Gupta was born in Calcutta and orphaned as a teenager. People talk about the privileged few who begin life on third base, Housel writes. Gupta couldn't even see the baseball stadium. What he went on to achieve was simply phenomenal. By his mid-40s, Gupta was CEO of McKinsey, the most prestigious consulting firm in the world. He retired in 2007, but retirement looked nothing like the average retirement. He took on roles with the United Nations, the World Economic Forum. He partnered on philanthropic work with Bill Gates. He sat on the boards of 5 public companies. From the slums of Calcutta, he had, quite literally, become one of the most successful businessmen alive. And the wealth that came with it was extraordinary. By 2008, Gupta was reportedly worth $100 million. To put that in perspective, Housel runs the math. A simple 5% annual return on a $100 million fortune produces roughly $600 per hour. Every hour. Around the clock. Whether Gupta was working, sleeping, or playing tennis, his money was earning him more than most professionals make in a day. He could have done anything he wanted in life. But what Gupta wanted, by all accounts, was not to be a 100-millionaire. He wanted to be a billionaire, and he wanted it badly. Gupta sat on the board of Goldman Sachs, which placed him in a circle of investors with personal fortunes in the billions. As one investor reportedly described him, quoted by Housel, "I think he wants to be in that circle. That's a billionaire circle, right? Goldman is like the hundreds of millions circle, right?" So Gupta found a side hustle. In 2008, as Goldman Sachs faced the wrath of the financial crisis, Warren Buffett quietly planned to invest $5 billion into the bank to help it survive. As a Goldman board member, Gupta learned of this transaction before the public did. It was extraordinarily valuable information. Goldman's survival was in doubt, and Buffett's backing would surely send its stock soaring. 16 seconds after learning of the pending deal, Housel writes, Gupta hung up the phone and called a hedge fund manager named Rajaratnam. The call was not recorded. But Rajaratnam immediately bought 175,000 shares of Goldman Sachs. The Buffett-Goldman deal was announced to the public hours later. Goldman stock surged. Rajaratnam made a quick $1 million. The SEC later alleged that Gupta's insider tips, in total, generated $17 million in illegal profits. Gupta and Rajaratnam both went to prison. For the man who had escaped poverty in Calcutta and climbed to the top of global business, every public role he held, every reputation he had built, every philanthropic legacy he had cultivated, all of it was lost. For $17 million he did not need, owned by someone else, in service of an aspiration to a wealth bracket he was already adjacent to. Housel's question is the one that makes this story haunting. Why would a man worth hundreds of millions of dollars be so desperate for more that he would risk everything in pursuit of even more. Crime committed by people on the edge of survival, Housel writes, is one thing. A Nigerian scam artist once told the New York Times that he felt guilty for hurting others. But in his words, poverty will not make you feel the pain. What Gupta did, Housel insists, is something completely different. He already had everything: unimaginable wealth, prestige, power, freedom. And he threw it all away because he wanted more. He had, in Housel's words, no sense of enough. The lesson Housel draws, and this is one of the cleanest in the entire book, is delivered through a Warren Buffett quote. If you risk something that is important to you for something that is unimportant to you, it just does not make any sense. There is no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. There's a question that haunts the Gupta story, and Housel pulls it out cleanly. The Rajat Gupta story is not a story about poverty leading someone astray. It is the opposite. It is a story about wealth and prestige creating a hunger that wealth and prestige cannot satisfy. Watch how often the most spectacular fraud cases of recent memory follow this exact arc. Founder achieves real success, earns real money, then accelerates risk in pursuit of a wealth bracket above their current one. The recent collapse of one of the largest crypto exchanges in history is the Gupta arc in different clothing. Different decade, identical pattern. The pattern is identical to Gupta. The skill that escapes them is the simplest of all: knowing when to stop. Housel argues, and we at Yield Tales firmly agree, that the hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. It is not earning the next dollar. It is not picking the next stock. It is not timing the next cycle. It is being able to say to yourself with full conviction, "I have enough," and then mean it. The uncomfortable part is that everyone watching this video has at least one moment where they imagined what one more level of wealth would feel like. The instinct itself isn't the problem. The action it provokes is. The most important number you will ever calculate in your financial life is not your net worth. It's your enough number, the figure beyond which more does not improve your life enough to justify the risk required to get there. 3 concrete things to start working through. 1. Actually calculate your enough number. Not your dream number, not your status number. The honest figure that, if you had it in liquid assets today, would let you stop reaching forever. Most people have never written it down. Writing it down is the first defense against an infinite goalpost. 2. Identify the important things in your life that should never be risked for the unimportant things. Your health, your reputation, your relationships, your freedom from criminal liability. Most career-ending decisions involve someone trading one of those important things for an unimportant marginal gain. Naming them in advance helps you refuse the trade when it appears. 3. Be skeptical of every story that ends with a successful person crossing a clear ethical line. The pattern is almost never about needing the money. It is almost always about not knowing when to stop. If you can recognize the pattern in others, you can begin to recognize it in yourself. If this story haunted you a little, hit subscribe. That haunting is the lesson doing its job. And the next in the series is one of the most counterintuitive ideas in the entire book. When you see a stranger driving an expensive car, your first thought is rarely about that stranger. It is about yourself. And that single observation, Morgan Housel argues, explains why so much of modern wealth is wasted on appearances. We will see you in the next one.